Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CM Trading. Today is November 5th, 2019, and today is Tuesday morning. So looking at the major economic events of the day, starting out at 3:30 South African time out of Canada, we have a trade balance number coming out, and then at 5 o'clock South African time out of the United States, we have an ISM manufacturing PMI number coming out. Now, if this number out of the United States is positive, it'll string along some of the positive news we've had already and perhaps expand the U.S. markets even further. But first, taking a look at the euro failing at resistance yesterday, while the South African rand continues to correct itself after last Friday's spike, and the Dow Jones hitting new record highs to 27,400-ish level together with the S&P 500. And as a result, gold retraced just mildly, while oil remains strong before our weekly inventory numbers coming out tomorrow. And the stocks that have been trading higher or making new highs for the year are the same ones that have been doing it until now, including Apple, JP Morgan, and Google. Okay, some major components right there. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, bouncing off support yesterday, but will it sustain itself and not break down further below the support level? But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're jumping here into the Euro USD, and you can see we've had this bona fide resistance level at this 1170-ish level. We continue breaking down yesterday, and once we broke down below our moving averages, we picked up some steam and then broke below our trend line. Now, we've done that once before, okay? But nevertheless, once you start breaking trend lines and you start breaking moving averages, you pick up momentum and you can retrace further down. And that's exactly what we did. We retraced about 50 pips, which is not a lot altogether, okay? But nevertheless, it is a retracement, and I believe we'll be trading between these two areas. Now, this morning we were bouncing off this 1120, and you can see just now we're spiking to 1137. But again, this is really relatively a very tight range. So if you're taking profits, take them quite quickly because they could retrace at any time, okay? Very choppy markets in the Forex symbols. Now, jumping into the USD ZAR, okay, which is the rand, obviously. Now, last week, obviously, we had this spike, and then we had this correctional move. We had the gap down, and we look like we're further breaking it further down. Now, my target price is really to get back to where we were, because I believe this is just a fade move, okay? It's a fake out breakout, but really it'll correct itself and get stronger versus the US dollar as we continue trading it this week, going into next week, and perhaps maybe even taking longer. But nevertheless, that's my target, getting back into this 1455-ish area. Now, jumping into the Canadian dollar, now we've had this correctional move. The Canadian dollar has been getting stronger versus the USD, as you can see in that box, okay? Pretty much getting really very strong versus the USD, okay? And then finally, it spiked last Friday, okay, with the NFP report, and then just really hanging around this resistance line, okay? With that said, with this trade balance number coming out, if it does get positive, then I do believe we'll see ourselves back in this 130-ish level. But if it does come out that it's negative, then we may see it get back to this area. So potentially it could be a really great trade today with this news event coming out. Now, next, looking at gold, okay? Not trading much, okay? Because it's really been in a very tight range between this 1513-ish level and 1484-ish level, but just trickling down here, but not much, okay? With that said, we're right here at this 1500-ish area. Nothing really to write home about. I just want to see how it's reacting, because if it does get a little bit stronger and start flirting with this 1513 more, it may even break out higher. Now, the question is why? Because the U.S. markets are very strong. The Dow Jones hitting new record highs, while oil and gold remain also very strong, okay? But in an expanding market, oil gets more expensive. So with that said, it'll affect the gold as well. Nevertheless, you know, we're still trading in a range and nothing has really changed there. Now, jumping into oil, now we are at that resistance level and we're really flirting with it in anticipation to tomorrow's inventory number. And if we do close above this 57-ish level, this could really get very interesting tomorrow. But you want to keep that on your radar, at least for today, to see how it unfolds into tomorrow. Now, jumping into the Dow Jones, we're looking at a weekly chart as it hit this all-time highs. You could see this is a weekly chart, so really not hiding anything here. Let's jump to a 4-hour chart to give us perspective. We broke above this 27,148 and continued going We even gapped up yesterday and continued going. Now, this has pretty much been following the stocks. JP Morgan, new all-time highs, okay, to 128. If we jump into Apple, new all-time highs, 256, okay? Not breaking in 10, 20, $50 ranges, but it's, getting stronger, okay? And this is really a trending market. Very hard to catch because you're scared every time you're, kind of like chasing it up and it goes even higher, and then you say, okay, this is the far as it'll go, and then it continues going higher. Very hard markets to trade because there are also very little pullbacks. I mean, if you look here, we've had, 1, 2, maybe 3 pullbacks from the time that we broke out from our all-time highs. So really not giving us much of a chance to really catch it. Now, these type of markets, you have to be a little bit cautious because it could turn on you at any time. But the markets are expanding, okay? And this is the fact that the markets are expanding even before China and the U.S. actually comes to some sort of trade agreement. And with that said, okay, if this trade agreement does come through, and like I've said it before, I believe it will go to 30,000, okay? So with that said, just keep that in mind as we continue trading this later today. Now, jumping into Google, also all-time highs at 1285-ish level. Now, this is really important because these are not small companies. These are major U.S. companies that are expanding the markets, okay, in the U.S. and expanding the economy and really having an effect and a trickle effect at the rest of the economy. Now, jumping lastly into Bitcoin, as we've had this nice, really alley-oop move yesterday, we sold off back to this support level. Now, I don't want to say that it's going to break support level, but if it does, okay, a 9,000-ish area, then if it does also pick up some momentum, this may really find itself back in this 84-ish 100 level. So just keep that in mind. These are potential trades that could develop themselves throughout the day. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.